So what is the official name of this show again? The Original Gentleman?
Original Gentleman, yeah. This one I'm going to put public, so it's not just for subscribers.
Okay.
So.
I see, capitalizing on my fame.
No! Hey, welcome to The Original Gentleman, including Martin and his gas. I know it's the first time with a camera, but...
Wait, are we on the Love Boat? Isaac, make me a drink.
No, what's the thing they say
No.
in Westworld?
This is the beginning of the show,
What?
not the end of the show. We don't go freeze frame yet.
All right, Martin, that'll be enough.
That'll be enough. I was actually playing. I never got around to finishing Fallout 4, and I got to the point you go to the Institute, and I'm going. Hey, this guy from Westworld have played Fallout 4. This is kind of similar. Anyway, yes, we've got Bo and Cargill.
Hi. Special guest Cargill.
Oh, how long has it been since we had you on the show? Like almost a year, right?
Something like that. Yeah, no, last time I was here, Sarah was here.
Okay, so
It's been a long while.
You weren't famous yet then.
Well, not famous now.
He's famous-ish.
Yeah.
You've done Sinister.
Dude. Well, yeah.
And
That's
then
He's-
erased all the
he's-
goodwill by doing Sinister 2.
He's
That wasn't his
screenwriter
fault.
famous.
That's a thing.
I know.
We all know who Charlie Kaufman is.
Yeah, let's not compare me to
What,
John.
what did he play and what?
Thank you guys. This should be a lot of fun because I've convinced Cargill to actually talk as openly as he can about Doctor Strange.
Oh, you're finally get spoilers.
Yeah.
We didn't agree to that.
Yes, we did.
That didn't work out so well last time.
No, because he couldn't. He couldn't say anything. He's like, I wrote a movie called Doctor Strange. Well, what else can you tell us?
That I wrote a movie called Doctor Strange.
That's about it.
Yeah, no, that's right. You had me on. It must have been like Christmas time last year that I was on because it had been announced, and I think it was between me being here and going back.
Right. I remember you were even talking about Deus Ex last time you were here, which now seems like it's like at least temporarily in development hell.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on with that movie.
Yeah, it's, everything I read about it is like it's on hold.
Yeah, and it wasn't on hold because people didn't like it or like the direction it was going. Everyone was really excited, and then there were internal problems at the studio, and there was a big shakeup at the studio, and I guess the people that came back that took over after the big shakeup just weren't in love with the property as much as the previous group was.
But isn't it when they get somebody new, they eat the young? They don't want the projects from the predecessor. So
that happens. I mean, that's certainly a thing that I've watched. As a film critic, that happened. There was that famous thing where Lionsgate had 3 movies produced by Robert Bloch, and when they kicked Robert Bloch to the curb, they dumped all 3 of those movies, and all 3 of them were good and are now considered cult films.
I know Jimmy Leary, who we've had as a guest prior. He's had stuff get like to the very top level of the massive green light, and then it just a studio shakeup, and then it's just like I know the person that you're working with who's no longer with us. We really like this project, but I'm lukewarm towards it. So
And some stuff even gets made, and then no one ever sees it.
Yeah,
I know that the company that's producing it, I know that they're still eager to get it made as a movie.
Yeah, because they've already put money in.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's more than that. It's the fact that they really like the project and that they really want to see it go somewhere. Because the thing is I'm really proud of that script. I think it would make a really great fucking movie. And I love that video game and I love that series quite a bit. So I would love to see it happen. But I have not heard.
So you basically wrote the script, sent it off, and went, okay.
We wrote a draft. They loved the draft so much they flew us up to Canada to talk to Eidos Montreal, who they loved the script. And in fact, their reaction to it was really interesting because their reaction was
In French. Yes.
It was actually,
And they said oui.
no, they have they spoke very thick French accents, and they're like we very much love the opening. They loved the first act. They were just like, this is our game. Like, you open up with our game and you tell the story of our game, and then we diverge in just the way that is interesting. And they're like, and the ending the ending is not the ending of our game, it's the ending we wish the game had. This is
Oh,
fantastic. And then they're like, the middle! Ah! And so...
mise en scène, non bien.
Well, they actually, their complaint was it felt more like a video game movie. And they wanted something, you know, and we talked for an hour trying to figure out what it was they wanted. And I was just like, at one point, I'm like, you guys want us to make Blade Runner? And they go, yes. And I said, that's what we wanted to do. Here were some ideas we didn't think you would like. And we bounce these ideas off them. And they go, we love this. Yes. And so we were like, great. So we spitballed for a couple hours and went back and did a rewrite on the script. And everybody loved the script. And they're like, great. They wanted, a producer wanted a last minute polish before they rushed forward. And Scott was off putting together his next film, which was Deliver Us from Evil. And,
Which I still haven't seen yet. I hear is actually pretty damn
I
good.
like it a lot.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good stuff about it.
Say what you will, I'm biased. You know, one of my best friends, you know, wrote and directed it, but I like the movie. So I did a quick polish on it, and everybody's like, "This is great," and then hear nothing for 7 months, like literally, like no, you know, just nothing, and nobody would return our calls on it. I'm like, what's going on? And then we heard that there was a shakeup going on inside of CBS.
Oh, okay.
And so, and then people ended up leaving CBS and new people started taking over. And the last I heard of it, they came to us and asked us if we wanted to do a polish for these new producers. And we're like, actually, we're in the last minute thing on this project, which was we were pitching for Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And so we were working up our pitch for Doctor Strange. And we said, we don't have time right now, but we might, you know, coming up soon. And they said, okay, thanks. And they went and hired another writer, guy who worked on Predators, to come and do a polish.
Good call.
To do a polish of whatever it was the new producers wanted. And that's the last I heard anything happen on the
I'm
script.
always amazed the amount of scriptwriters out there who seem to have nothing to their credit that is worth a shit, but have like lots of stuff to their credit and keep getting.
I'm just amazed that I heard the words predators and polish in the same sentence.
I was listening to Script Notes. Have you ever heard that podcast?
No.
Really good screenwriting podcast. And they were when they were in Austin for the Austin Film Festival. There was a whole stack of people who were there, and I don't know. I didn't go look up all of their credits. But every last one, the one they're listening, this is the writer of Clash of the Titans. I'd be like, shh.
because that's the thing is it's the difference between, you know, the critic industry and the film industry.
Sure, of course.
Is that
It
in the
made
film industry everybody knows in the film industry that the writer rarely has anything to do with a bad movie.
Look, I'm going to let you in on a horrible secret. Everything in Hollywood is written by Thomas Lennon. Everything.
The rest of us put our names on it.
I thought it was Andy Kaufman.
No, but
Thomas Lennon is actually Andy Kaufman.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of
Which,
sense.
yeah.
But that's the thing is that once it leaves the writer's hands, unless the writer has a great working relationship with the director, often they're not on set, they're not involved with things going on.
And that's part of the significant special relationship you have with Scott Derrickson is that he demands you be on set.
Yeah, well, he wants me to be on set and he wants me around, and we work so well together as a writing team. And
It's in his writer, Cargill and only brown M&Ms.
Hey, the brown M&Ms thing was kind of genius.
It's true.
If you know this, you know that story, right?
The Van Halen story?
Yeah, why they had the brown M&Ms?
Actually, I don't know this.
Oh, yeah, no,
it's
this is
very
genius.
it's smart.
Is there actually a real reason?
It's an acid test.
What it was they would demand brown M&Ms be taken out. No brown M&Ms in
Okay, it's
there.
the other way around.
There were no brown M&Ms to be in their M&M bowl. And the thing is they were doing such a complicated stage show that if it wasn't done properly, it was dangerous and risked electrocuting or killing people. So in order to know whether or not the writer was specifically adhered to that, what they would do is they'd walk into the green room, and the minute they saw the M&M bowl, they would know if someone had read through all of the stipulations of the
Yeah,
writer.
I think it was David Lee Roth who came up with that.
Yeah, and so
Makes a lot of sense.
the minute they saw that the M&Ms weren't right, they would immediately set their techs to go about and check all the dangerous things on the set. And they knew they had more work to do.
Crazy like
But if they came in and saw that, then they knew, okay,
we have to hit pause.
Never ever play poker with Diamond Dave.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Oh, it was
Not fucking.
I would
it was
totally
genius.
lose money to Diamond Dave and be happy about it.
But yeah, so that was that's
Side note: if you want some fun, just Google some of your favorite bands and writer and see what they have.
Oh yeah, there were some funny ones.
Yeah,
out there.
there was the really good one. I think was Iggy Pop.
Yes.
which was just like
Extensive.
yeah, extensive and hilarious. He was basically like, must build portal to contact the elder gods in my dressing room.
Have you guys seen Coffee and Cigarettes, the Jarmusch
Oh,
film?
of course.
Yeah, I just rewatched it because Olive Films, I think, just re-released it on Blu-ray, and it's the scene in there is Iggy Pop and Tom Waits meeting for the first time, but they're playing each other, and they just have nothing in common in the scene.
They're playing each other.
Well, they're playing like themselves.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
Not the
Okay.
other. That'd be funny.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I don't remember that, but that's awesome.
No. Well, and it's it's the most awkward scene like ever.
Sure.
Because these two like gods, and they're like.
Well, and
it's
both of them
very
are
awkward
people
and
that don't like to
uncomfortable.
talk about themselves.
Yes.
I mean, like, if you meet Iggy Pop, the first thing he tells you is like, "Hey, my name is Jimmy." It's like
Well, there you
there's
go. So you can call
no
me Jim or Jimmy or
Yeah.
Ig or Iggy or
Mr. Oscarberg.
Anyway, before we get started into Doctor Strange, I want to just say R.I.P. to Ron Glass. He's one of the great character actors,
Yeah.
and
One of the great character actors.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
You need whiskey.
That's crazy
My
badass.
favorite character on Barney Miller.
Absolutely.
Well,
yeah.
Harris.
And from Firefly, of course.
That man
What's
was
that?
a sharp dressed motherfucker.
All right, you've lost rights to that.
That's no. Actually, that was something I tweeted about last night. It reminded me that my one disappointment with Firefly, aside from the fact that it was canceled far too early, was that Shepard book never turned out
Yeah.
to be the Alliance General
Yes.
who won the Battle of Serenity.
It seemed like that was for sure.
It's
what they
total
were
headcanon, and it should remain so. That's
Yeah.
the fun thing about things that get canceled too often. But did any of you see Jewel Stady's the woman who played Kaylee, her like little Instagram post
No,
on it?
no.
Oh, she was great because she posted a picture of the two of them. She's like, here's me. I am going out of my way to make a Ron Glass laugh because he is such an amazing laugher. But she told this great story about. She was like, he really liked Crantinis, martinis with cran. She said one time he spilled it on my white pants and he just stopped still and it just looked at me and she said, "Girl, those pants were ugly anyway."
The other thing I wanted to point out, a new podcast I discovered, Two Dope Girls. Apparently everyone in the world knows about this but me. It's these two black women who host a comedy showcase. And then
Isn't one of them Jessica from The Daily Show?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
In between, they do their own thing, but then they get all these like comedy guests who do stand-up. And it's almost always pretty funny, and it's all entirely people of like, you're either gay, you're not white.
Jessica, what's her name? I mean, she's like the most astounding correspondent
Yeah.
the Daily Show's had since Colbert and Carell.
And
Easily.
The show is genuinely funny. The only criticism I have is that, like, and this
Jessica
is coming
Williams.
from me as a guy who is part of the original Gentleman. I'm like, you guys aren't terribly you're kind of culturally shallow, but that's okay because you're really smart.
Culturally shallow?
Yeah. They like to talk about like Abercrombie and Fitch or like what like the TV shows they like are terrible and stuff like that.
Okay.
You're like, my opinion, just my opinion. Where I'm like, okay, get past that and be funny again about.
Go back to talking about Westworld.
But once again,
Talk about something that appeals to my white culture.
exactly. But
I'm just mad because they'll never let you on the show.
they're fucking hysterical, and the show they get great guests, and it's nice to see so many comedians who are not straight white men, which is the bulk of stand-up comedy, getting a chance to actually come out in a way with one of the iTunes highest rated podcasts.
That's too
and
bad it's
live
all going to
shows.
go away in Trump's America.
You know what? We're trying to fight that, Martin, and you're not helping.
There will be a
just getting ready
secret.
for it.
There will
Some
be
men
a
just want to see the world burn.
man. That's the great thing about podcast is they can be very underground if you need them to be. Like our podcast, which no one listens
We
to.
will start a new podcast called The
Wait,
Underground
nobody
Railroad.
listens to this?
Shut up!
What the fuck am I doing here?
Oh, we didn't want to tell you.
Wait,
that.
well, come on.
Look, isn't the fact that you have 3 people paying attention to you enough?
Did I or did I not bring you onto the real deal?
Oh, snap!
Oh, we going
Speaking
all
of
the way
shows
back to
nobody
that?
watched, why do you keep bringing me on to shows nobody watches?
I'm going to hold on to that card for as long as possible.
Yeah, Yeah, no, you did. Yeah, you brought me on. I was originally brought on as an alternate, and I was an alternate for whenever people would be out of town, and I was an alternate for exactly 1 week. And then the next week, one of your guys called up and said, "Yeah, I moved to Dallas, so I won't be on this week." And it's like, "Hey, Cargill, you want a permanent gig?"
And I was like, yes, because fuck that guy.
I should have killed one of you motherfuckers. I could have been.
could've.
I could have written Dr. Strange.
We had actually
But I
had-
played my cards
We
right.
have people quit every so often, all the time.
You know, the multiverse...
Like, right, the first time Chris invited me to do it was like, I think it was like 2 weeks before everybody went like, yeah, this is getting old. Let's do something else.
Sorry. Anyway, let's, unless anybody else has anything really current they want to bring up, like shout-outs to stuff, what have you.
Oh, you mean stuff like we're watching or reading?
It's very current stuff. Watching, reading, news that happened that you want to talk about.
I don't know if you guys have heard about Westworld yet.
Bo and I
pretty
do a
good.
weekly podcast.
I don't know. Oh, well, is there anyone else here watching Gilmore Girls, or am I the only one?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
You and Joss Whedon.
Sorry, Rory.
I'm enjoying Gilmore
I-
Girls. What are you gonna
There's
do?
nothing wrong with it.
I've never watched it, which is not anything like... I'm not like, fuck Gilmore Girls. I'm just like... It just doesn't seem like it's in my wheelhouse of something I'd enjoy.
I like Alexis Bledel and Lauren Graham. I think they're fine actors.
But I did laugh when someone on a Facebook posted today. It's like, it's the pumpkin spice latte of TV shows.
You
know what?
Was that it came out during all those CW, what was it back
Yeah.
then? The WBE shows that were Dawson's Creek and Party of Five, which I know was Fox.
Yeah.
So I just lumped it in with all those and didn't
Yeah.
bother. And now I'm hearing all about it. And every time it's described to me, I think, oh, that sounds like a show I would love.
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, I was trying to explain it to Jess the other day, my wife, and I'm like, okay, it's a female-driven show about two girls in a small town that occasionally makes deep cut references to scenes in Eastern Promises. Like it is just
All right, well, maybe I wouldn't like
their
the show.
pop culture.
Was it about the dick scene? Because that's not a deep cut.
No, it wasn't about the dick scene.
Okay.
No, but no, it drops a lot of pop culture references to a lot of the deeper cut geek stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed to like when you hear,
And aren't they? I thought they were. Isn't
Yeah,
Alexis
mother-in-law.
Bledel is Lauren Graham's daughter?
yes,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know which one Rory is.
They're both named Lorelai. Rory is what the daughter goes by.
Okay.
Oh, and I know Jared Padalecki was on it for a little while, and you know I hadn't.
That's true.
When that was originally on, I wasn't watching Supernatural, so I'm watching Supernatural now, rewatching it, and there's an episode in the second season where they're on a Hollywood set, and it's like, look, it's the Gilmore Girls, and he's like, whatever. It's like nice little deep cut that I missed the first time because I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, it's that's the it's actually I'm enjoying it. Like
So the new stuff, are you liking that?
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
the new stuff is
okay.
really good.
Yeah, that's
holds
what I'm
up.
enjoying. Yeah, it feels very like there's definitely what you'd expect. There's a lot of fan service going on. The best way I would liken it to, you know what it feels like? It feels a lot like the Veronica Mars movie.
Right.
Okay,
And
that's-
I'm fully convinced that if, Firefly had been on the air in the 2000 teens, that we would have gotten 2 or 3 more seasons on Netflix
Oh,
or
yeah.
Hulu or somewhere.
For sure.
But it would kind of feel like this to a certain extent, where it's like, let's bring all the characters back and let them yuck it up a bit to remind you of what it is before the show then evens out and then turns back into what the show was.
Yeah,
But-
Dark Matter, which is going on to its 3rd season, is nowhere near as good as Firefly, although it's pretty damn good. It's similarly themed, and I'm like, yes, if that had Firefly had waited till now...
Stop trying to fill the hole in my heart.
You know what else I'll mention while we're here is it's still in theaters. It's not going to be in theaters for very long because it did very well. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but I really liked Edge of 17.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
I
A lot
really
of
enjoyed that movie.
most critics really liked it. Most
Yeah.
people really
I
liked
mean,
it.
I get why people don't like it
I was
because you
infuriated by
have a very unlikable main character.
Yes.
But I don't need my main character to be likable.
Agreed.
Matter of fact, I like a lot of movies that do that.
I'm
And-
still waiting for a Confederacy of Dunces. If
Well,
somebody's
Haley
gonna make it.
Steinfeld does such a powerhouse job all through it.
She's a great actress, no question.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? her character is not completely off from a lot of teenage girls.
No, I really
she's extra, as they would call it.
Oh, I don't think it's not
teenagers, not just teenage girls. I identified with her character a lot. A lot of the reasons why I was an unlikable teenager was because I had, my head up my ass just like she did.
Yeah.
Teenager.
Look, no. I'm unlikable for completely different reasons now.
You've grown so much, my lad.
I have found whole new reasons for people to detest and dislike me. We're talking about because there's the teenage years where you didn't like me for reasons because I was a lot like her, and then
That's true. You
there's
used
my
to read
20s where you guys remember why
You used to read
dopey
mopey poetry, and you don't do that anymore.
Oh, I used to go and used to read dopey poetry aloud at poetry readings in coffee shops in the 90s.
You are the exception to where most people, when they get success, they really let their assholeness come out. And you've been the complete opposite.
Opposite, exactly.
Like when you weren't successful, you were a son of a bitch to work with at times. but once things starts going your way,
yeah, you got all grounded and shit.
Yeah.
You guys remember, you guys were there. I had a lot of false starts for a lot of years.
Sure.
And I was really frustrated as an artist, where it's like, where you get to that point where you're 30 years old and you're like, my life is never going to amount to anything. I'm never gonna, I had an agent long before you guys met me, and was trying to sell novels and completely failed because it turns out I had a total shit garbage agent. And had very little understanding of how the industry worked, both me and my agent. I had two scripts that I'd written that were hopefully going to get off the ground as indie films, and those completely collapsed for various reasons. And there comes a point where you just get bitter about everything, and you're a fucking 30-year-old video store clerk, and it's like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, where the only thing going in my life that's going positively is my marriage and the fact that I have a weekly cable access show with a couple of friends.
And you had an awesome roommate.
For a while.
And then we kicked his ass to the curb.
Yeah.
And then we got you.
Well, technically, hey man, we discovered Lost together, and that worked out well in the long run.
What was that small film that you produced?
Oh yeah.
Like Contagion or something like that?
Oh God, no. You the one that's on my IMDb profile?
I guess.
No, I produced I was an associate producer on a film that was called 0 Hour.
0 Hour.
And it was this couple had raised $350,000 to make 10 minutes of a movie. Of an indie film, so that they could raise the $3 million that they wanted to make the whole film. And they spent $350,000 in 2006 to make 10 minutes of a movie. You're sitting there like,
I'm coming.
Like even $350,000 today to make a movie, you're like, shit. And they hired Jimmy Lindsay, who is Robert's DP that didn't often get credit as his DP. He was his camera operator that would do all the DP stuff.
Robert Rodriguez.
Yeah, and Robert Rodriguez would come in and go, "Okay, Jimmy, thanks," and pick up the camera, and then he would be he would be the DP. This was the guy that shot, so many of Robert's best-looking movies. So he and his camera team were the DPs on this, and we had a bunch of great, Texas-based and LA actors who came out. We got a lot of good material, but for $350,000 and 3.5 weeks of shooting, they ran over budget, and then I got yelled at for running over budget, and they said, why are we $25,000 over budget? This was your job to keep track of this. And I said, because I told you we were over budget and kept saying, you want to spend $1,000 on crew shirts, and you want to spend this on Crafty, and I kept telling you we can't afford it, and you kept going, give them
they were like
they
swag
want.
for the crew? For 10 minutes?
Well, there's a tendency, I think,
no.
on smaller projects to not be, like, first time to go, not really be capable of understanding.
Oh yeah,
There's this balance between appreciation of everybody working for basically free.
I've been involved in theater where
reality.
I see people spending money on shit like that, and it's just like, we're not in high school anymore, boys and girls.
Yeah.
There's no need to do this. If your cast and crew doesn't know that you appreciate the work that you're putting into them, then you're not a professional.
If you're doing 10 minutes as a film as a push, then nobody gets t-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but had we spent that $350,000 in the 3.5 weeks,
Hey, that's $50,000 a week, a little more than $50,000 a week.
Well, but the thing is that it was a fishbowl movie.
Right.
Like, the entire movie takes
Model
place
film.
in a single room.
Yeah.
Like, we could have shot that in 3.5 weeks with that cast, and that cast was good. They were
If there's
shot-
anybody out there who would like me to do this for them,
Well,
I'm
but I
willing
mean,
to work
they,
cheap.
they had raised the $350,000 from friends and family, so that was a
Oh, my
whole.
God.
They had to. That's something they have to deal with. Those people actually still owe me money. But yeah, so that was that. So you have stuff like
There's
that.
going to be some
constantly.
interesting Christmas displays in that neighborhood. I'm just saying.
I ended up
I
loaning
suspect
the
so.
production $4,000 to go ahead and cover everybody's pay. You know, because they came up short for payroll for the last week, and so I ended up fronting some money. And they're like, "We're going to take money out of our 401k and pay you back," and that never happened. But on the bright side, I ended up paying a bunch of that money went to pay a bunch of people in town. So like everybody on the production was like, "Oh, Cargill is not one of them. Cargill's one of the good guys, and Cargill saw to it that we got paid." So now I all of a sudden what I got out of that whole production was friends who do some of the coolest shit here in Austin.
Oh, right
Like
on.
people like one of the people working on the film, our special effects crew was Hogfly.
You're
It was
playing
one
the
of their
long
first
game,
gigs.
is what you're saying.
Well, I wasn't that I was playing the long game. It ended
just
up
doing
He
it
was
right.
being a
I'm
decent human being.
I'm dead.
but that's that. It ended up in the long run. That was a
Well-
great. That was a great learning lesson for me, and it was a $4,000 film school that I came out going.
Also,
All right,
Okay, that's cheap.
I know how to fail now.
For-
Now I know what to avoid.
for everybody out there listening and watching, being a decent human being is a really good way to play the long game.
Oh,
Just saying.
And by the way, being a decent human being is the #1 way to keep working in Hollywood. We just raised our glasses to Ron Glass, a guy who never hit big, that had 2 hit TV shows in his time, and appearances on a number of other shows, appeared in one major film that we could name that, you know, during the period of time that, you know, most people knew who he was. And that was Death at a Funeral.
Yeah.
But here he was
Star
somebody
Trek Voyager.
who consistently got work because, you got to hire Ron Glass, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Like
Because
literally
everybody loves
that's how Hollywood works. People want to consistently work with their friends. They want to work with people they know aren't going to throw fits, that aren't going to screw them over, and it's why people who are difficult notoriously, you know, the Jared Leto's and the Russell
LaBeoufs.
Crowe's
Yeah.
and the Shia LaBeoufs
Have to earn their way back if they ever do it.
Yeah.
But it seems like Russell Crowe works all the time.
No, are you kidding me? His career definitely took a sort of left turn to. That's right,
He's
left
had
turn.
to make some nice.
Yeah,
Well,
where
you
you're
know,
like
he
you're
did
still,
Les Mis, and that was up for all these awards, and he just did The Nice Guys earlier this year.
which was a small film.
Right.
that didn't
Well,
make
and
a
those
lot
films
of
are what, 4 or 5 years apart? That you just named 2
Yeah.
films that are recent films of his?
But just because I don't see people in big films doesn't mean they aren't actors.
The
No,
man could have turned into, you know, like Tom Cruise.
Or Paul Newman.
Or Paul
He
Newman.
should have been like a Paul
Yeah.
Newman. Like,
Well, I figured that's just because he got fat.
And the guy's like,
It was 'cause
years
he-
go by without a Russell Crowe.
Dude,
he lost his shit.
Yeah.
Lost his shit and threw a stapler at the head of a hotel clerk. What
Right.
did he do on set?
We're
Right, but it seemed like no matter what he did, Ridley Scott would always hire him. He was always Ridley Scott's
Well,
guy.
yeah, but when you got somebody like Ridley Scott has worked with incredibly difficult people his whole life. He cares about talent, not being difficult. He's old school. He's old guard.
And
I
he
always
knows how to
like
work
I just finished my you know, Thanksgiving is always my time to do my Wes Anderson fawn, and I just finished that, and I was wondering because so he worked with Ed Norton, who was notoriously for being difficult to work with in Moonrise Kingdom and Budapest, but there are some people that I'm kind of surprised that he's never worked with again. Like he had. Jimmy Caan in Balrog, of course, he was, you know, the biggest name in the movie, and has never worked with him again.
Some people know how
yeah.
to. The thing is people who are difficult are not difficult for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Like Bill Murray is supposedly difficult, but he's been in everything.
Yeah,
Wes
but for
Anderson's
some
ever done.
people, he's not difficult at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
It's like,
and-
no, I get you. We have a relationship. We know how to work with
Yeah.
each other. Ed Norton has that relationship with several directors, apparently. Oh God, who's the director I'm thinking? David Russell.
Oh, Russell.
Yeah, Russell apparently is those actors that are like, fuck you, I'll never even.
Yeah,
I'll
Google
still-
David O.
I'll
Russell,
see you
Lily
again.
Tomlin.
Lily Tomlin.
But there are actors who are like, I will work with you no matter what you
Yeah.
ever do.
But look at it from the framework
Yeah, I mean,
of
he's
like
Jennifer Lawrence's muse.
Yeah.
you know, we doing all the stuff here in Austin, from the cable access show to the podcasts to the various websites that we've all been a part of. We have all worked with most everybody here in town. and we know the people that we've worked with who are difficult, like myself.
You're not.
Well, yeah, but still, even when I was difficult, you were still like, yeah, we're going to work with him because he's difficult, but
You
we
were
can
difficult
manage
to
the type
work
of difficulty he was.
Okay, fair enough.
It's the same way with Corey. We all have had our things with Corey at one time or another, but we all love Corey and we know how to manage dealing with Corey, and we know when Corey does a certain thing, we know how to deal with it. And it's like, well, this is the tax of working with Corey. This is the tax of working with Cargill. This is the tax of working with Chris. And everybody just loves working with Martin. So,
Wait a minute, what just happened?
Oh, he's not wrong.
Hey, wait a minute!
what happened?
You weren't even worth mentioning.
I know! Fuck this guy!
To be fair, you and I have never actually worked together on a thing.
I'm a latecomer to the party.
Well, it's not just that you're a latecomer to the party. We've just never actually been on the same projects together.
True.
I've been on your shows, you've been on my shows, but we've never had a show together. Whereas we've been in the shit together.
Yeah,
like
true.
we've been in the
Oh, no.
We had a live show that started at 10 o'clock. Well, was scheduled at 10 o'clock, but started at 10:15. Like that was.
And
we did that for years.
the intro guy was Alex Jones.
I would like.
Do you remember when Alex Jones seemed like a basically nice, sane guy?
He still is.
Yeah. What?
Oh, when the cameras are off.
He's just
Yeah,
a liar.
The cameras are off.
That's the thing.
Yeah, but that just
He's a good local guy that is brilliantly corralling the alt-right and making a killing doing it.
I mean, that would be great if he was planning on corralling them all into a big pit. And
Literally corralling
but he's
them.
just making money off espousing on their beliefs. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't think that makes him a good guy.
You know what? I don't disagree with that. But I mean, in terms of like what you were talking about, like when we used to deal with him, because literally, for those that don't know, we would go and do the show on Wednesday nights, and at 10 o'clock we would have the studio. We would officially get the studio at 9:30 to set up, and at the show that ended and closed down at 9:30 was Alex Jones's show
At least
with
for a
his
while.
local guys.
Yeah.
Well, for a long.
Well,
while.
yeah, for a long time. And there was
So while we
there was
had
a
that
point
Elvis impersonator.
Oh,
guy.
the twins.
Yeah.
That was before
But
me.
there was a point when they scheduled us to where we couldn't go into the studio until 10, so there was no setup time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Alex Jones was like, "Listen, I don't need that last half hour. I'll let you guys have my time to set up." Like I was like, I always like, was like, "Hey man,
he was a good
really
dude, and
for us."
we would pass and we would exchange kind words and talk for
Alex
5
Jones
minutes.
came several times to the after show hangout for the real
Well,
deal
and
and bought everyone
Oh
beer
yeah, well I tell
and
people
chicken
he's
wings.
much more of a Star Wars nerd than he is a conspiracy theorist.
I don't think he believes a bit of it. In fact, he flat out told me one time I'm not a Christian. And I was like, what? That's part of your whole thing. And he's like, nah, I don't really believe in anything. I'm an apatheist. And I was like, seriously? He told me that in person.
I believe it.
But so that's, we used to, Jess loves to tell, whenever this comes up, Jess loves to tell the story of watching me get cornered by Alex one week where he was particularly wound up. And it was the finger wagging, like it was around the
Wait,
Iraq
Jessica
war.
got cornered
No,
by...
I did.
no.
And Jessica watched, and she's like,
Okay.
I can't, how do I get Cargill out of this? Like, how do I, like, he's in the corner, and Alex Jones is pointing his finger and angrily yelling at him, and not because he was mad at me, but because he's like, you need to open your eyes and understand what's going on. Like, hell, I remember, that's how we all learned about the start of the Iraq war, it was declared while we were about to go on.
Wait, second or first?
The one in 2003.
Okay.
Was
second.
declared that,
That would be the second.
Yeah, when we were all standing around waiting to go on, and they're watching a TV up in the front office, and everyone's like, "You got to come and see this!" And we were literally watching like green, the green light version of watching the planes bomb Iraq, and we were just all like, "Fuck, we're at war!"
Yeah.
And now we have to go on and talk about movies. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like that's a surreal night that I'll never forget because it's like we got to go and we got to be funny, and.
Have had a lot of those since then.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
But that's one of those nights I'll never forget. But yeah, that was some crazy times, like doing this thing. But yeah, but that's to wheel that all back around. I mean, that's Hollywood. Is you work with these people and you get to know who you can work with and who you don't want to work with.
Yeah.
You learn the people that take the work seriously, that are your blue collar kind of workers. Like I will work with Ethan Hawke any day of the week.
Oh, of
that
course.
guy's
He's nothing but a professional.
he's blue collar as hell. He comes with his lines prepared every day. He's got 3 different ways he wants to approach it. He's just got a great demeanor. Really cares about the work. I've told you guys, and I'm sure I've told on this podcast before the story. Of
Really, so as somebody who does primarily stage, so he comes in and he's like, Yeah, and
Off
part of his preparedness, off book, of course, but part of the preparedness
Not
is like,
everybody's off book.
hey, and most people, like, especially with TV and shit like that, are not off book. But being off book, the interesting point that I want is that he has, like, 3 different ways that he's willing to go.
Yeah, no, and he'll
You know?
and he'll ask about it. And the thing is, he doesn't just talk to the director; he also asks me as the screenwriter. He would come up to me and he goes,
All right.
there's some, I want to play around with the words here. Does this conflict with anything else in the script? Is this going to violate?" And I would be like, I would either be like, no, that actually doesn't, or sometimes, yeah, it does, and it conflicts with this and this scene here, so it would muck up,
Yeah.
and he'd be like, okay, yeah, we can't do that.
No, that's all.
So yeah, he always knows what he wants to do. And always knows alternate ways that he does it, and he'll play around a bit. But he's also one of those guys who is so prepared.
I'm always like,
it's
just like you
That's
should
good.
be able to turn on a dime, and it doesn't matter what your idea is if the people that are setting up the scene, it's like, well, no, we have to do it this way because X, Y, Z.
Oh, you would make a great Marvel supervillain, don't you think, Cargill? Don't you think you would, like, acting-wise, would make
Stilt
a great
Man?
character?
Yeah.
Still, man.
I'm willing to do Siltman.
I don't think that was the
More than
character I was
willing.
thinking of.
I think with a face like that, he's got to be Mysterio.
So we can hide it in a fishbowl.
That's weird because people been calling me
Big fishbowl.
fishbowl face all my life. Yeah, I'm werewolf by night, or I'm nothing.
Oh my
Werewolf.
God, I would so love to see a Marvel Werewolf by Night movie. Like fuck what
Dude, if they would
Universal's
bring
doing.
Moon Knight into
If
it, I'm totally
Marvel
into it.
had their whole monster universe thing that tied into it.
Oh,
They had a
with
series
Morbius
of films.
and Blade and all those guys.
Oh, I'd
Oh, yeah,
love
Midnight
that so
Suns, yeah.
much. I'd love it so much.
Midnight Suns would be pretty pimptastic.
What do you think about Ghost Rider on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I haven't caught up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. yet.
I'm
I was
getting
ready
happy
to dump
with
the
it.
show, and Ghost Rider has won me back.
This whole new
I hear it's great.
Really ready to dump the show? Because I think it's just got
No.
better.
At the end of last season.
Wait,
the way last
is
season
Ghost
ended,
Rider like their sidekick now? Or?
No, it's what's his name? Reyes.
Robbie Reyes.
Robbie
Well, I
Reyes.
know it's Robbie Reyes,
But they
what,
also said
is he
Johnny
like
Blaze.
a member of the team, or is
No,
he someone that shows up every now and then?
No. They've been counted.
He's in every episode.
Yeah, he is.
Is he like a big bad, or I mean, what's his role?
He's anti-hero. How about that?
Yeah, like
They've come across him. They've crossed paths. and
he's
swords.
teamed up with one of the characters who also has gotten off the main team. And,
Okay.
and they're like kind of like, okay, well, obviously you're really good at what you do, and we're a little uncertain
and we
about
can't
your
hold
shit.
you. We can't make you do what
Yeah,
we want
we've
you to
proven
do.
that there's no way to hold you. Like, if we try, we're gonna fail.
Yeah.
But we've also realized that if you wanted to, you could have killed us, and you didn't.
Sure.
So let's be friends.
So let's be friends, and we have similar aims, even though you tend to kill people. when you
Complete
test
non
them.
sequitur. Cargill, if you're still reading comics, I would highly recommend The Vision.
Are you still reading comics?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, last time I talked to you, we were talking about Doctor
Dude,
Strange.
he's still
Like,
playing
I still haven't
Warhammer. Of
caught
course
up-
he's still reading
I still haven't
comics.
caught up with the current Doctor Strange.
No, I have not caught up with the current Doctor Strange. I keep meaning to read that graphic novel because I was waiting for it to be a graphic
It's
novel,
good.
and then that's what everybody says. And I've had people like spill little details to me. I'm like, don't tell me, I want to read it.
And I
Or-
didn't mean it as a criticism to say.
No,
"Are you still
no,
reading
I know.
comics? You're
Yeah.
busy as fuck.
Yeah,
No,
that's
I have not been able to sit down and read for a couple of months because of various things. But yeah, no, I'm still reading comics, still paying attention to what's going on, and
Should we perhaps use that as a segue to talk about Doctor Strange?
What's that?
I don't know.
I
Nobody reads Doctor
He's
Strange.
a doctor. He's
No.
strange.
Doctor Strange has crossed the $200 million mark domestically. Came in number 3 this week. Partly because of me, because I took my kids to see it.
Well done.
well, I think you forgot to mention it also crossed the 600 million mark worldwide.
No, that I knew.
Well,
besting Iron Man.
Let's continue this conversation, but first, there's going to be a brief commercial, and we'll be right back after that commercial.
Oh,
And
good.
thank you for listening.
You've listened to Oneofus.net for years. Quality shows that have made you laugh and maybe even cry. But did you know they produce podcasts that you may not have even heard of? For just a few dollars a month, you have the opportunity to hear quality podcasts like The Breakfast Pub,
Game Bowl 2016. Get hype, motherfuckers.
The Original Gentleman,
I see this as an avenue to you becoming a huge chick magnet.
Oh, yeah.
and the Watch a Movie With Us series.
By the way, anybody thinking that his makeup is a little bit heavy here does not remember the 80s.
Oh, she's thinking about banking babies right now.
Oh, it turned into a phallic symbol.
Become a subscriber to Oneofus.net and choose your level of giving from Red Shirt, Brown Coat, Time Lord, and Jedi. And know that your donation will help bring quality oral entertainment to you for years to come. Thank you. And may Cthulhu devour your house last.
And we're back. Thank you for listening to our advertisement for sending us money. And we're going to talk about Doctor Strange.
Sure.
The 600-pound gorilla in the room, 800 elephant. I don't know. What's the expression?
Just
I don't
elephant in
know.
the room.
Yeah, something.
Although it's funny when people say the white elephant in the room. It's like, that's not
No.
a thing.
That's not the thing.
The worst
Yeah.
ever white
Yeah.
elephant gift. Thanks.
Can you give me a shovel to clean up all the shit that's leaving in
Does
my...
anybody want to trade?
And of course, with us, it's generally the pink elephants in the room.
Yeah,
That's
they-
true.
All right, so let me start off by saying, like, Doctor Strange was obviously in pre-production before you became attached to it. Scott Derrickson was involved. John Spates was the original writer. What was the point that you got involved?
They needed rewrites. They weren't happy with where things were going, and they needed to. They hired another writer to come in, and they wanted to know which direction to go. And Scott's like, "We'll bring in Cargill." And up until that point, there was a scene that we had written in our pitch that they loved so much. It's why they gave Scott the job, and that ended up getting put into the film. And Scott's like, "Well, what's your favorite scene in the script right now?" And they said, "Well, we really love this scene where Doctor Strange has the ER battle." And he said, "Well, Cargill wrote that. Like, that was in our pitch." And they're like, "We know, that's why we hired you." And he goes, "Yeah, but Cargill came up with that scene. Like, the guy who came up with the scene that you guys think really nails what Doctor Strange is this guy who's not working on the film. So let's bring him in and see what he can do." And so they're like, "All right, sure, yeah. Well, we don't have a relationship with him, but yeah, if you trust him, we'll bring him in." And then I worked on the film for over a year.
Nice.
So what was that process? Like, did you, when you wrote that, with Scott, had you guys already written your own script entirely version of it, as opposed to what Spates had done? Or?
No. We rewrote that because that was what Scott and Spates worked on. So Scott worked out the story with Spates, and Spates wrote it, and they both collaborated together. Spates was the writer, and Scott was, coming up with stuff as they do at Marvel. Marvel's very hands-on. Everybody's kind of involved in the process. And so they brought me in to do rewrites okay, let's take certain things in another direction. How do we fix this? What do we do with that? And then we did, major rewrites to it. There's a whole lot of Spates left in it, which is why Spates is credited, because he also came back at the very end when they wanted a pair of fresh eyes, and they brought him in to do a polish, and he polished things up.
So you kind of went from, like, more than punch up, but polish to, like, full on.
Oh no, I did a full on rewrite. Like,
So
yeah,
if you were to say the percentage of the script that is you,
I couldn't actually say that. Like, it's but it's enough that it's more than 50%, because in order for, according to WGA, the first writer has to have at least 33% of the script is theirs, and then
I'm curious about this because a lot of my writing experience is co-writing, and like, so were you like working? What was your process as far as, like, well, I've got my kernel here. I'm gonna write it, and then I'm gonna give it to Scott. Or were you guys on the phone a lot? Or were you bouncing ideas off each other?
Oh, Scott and I mean,
yeah, I mean, I know you guys are really close. So
yeah, our writing
I'm
process.
assuming there's a lot of text messaging and just banging things back and forth all the time.
Well, yeah, but our writing process works really well because Scott's a dad, and so Scott wakes up at like 6 a.m. every morning. Gets his kids ready, gets his kids breakfast, gets them ready for school, sends them off,
Sure.
and then sits down at 9 o'clock in his office with a cup of coffee and starts working. And then works in the afternoons. When he has meetings, he goes in and does meetings, but when he doesn't, he's sitting in his office and writing. And I go to bed at 7 in the morning. So I get up in the afternoon. I do my news crawl. Maybe I do business calls if I have any of those, emails, such like that. Then I spend the evening with my wife, and then she goes to bed, and I sit down and I write through the night. And so, and then when I'm on a big writing binge, I'm pretty much writing from when I wake up to when I go to bed. So I would be finishing up the script and sending it out to him right as he's waking up. So he's able to then go and write on it all day and then passes it off to me, and then I pick it up and take over, and we just keep passing it back and forth.
So it's more like a baton.
It is.
And a relay.
And we deal with it through, emails, and then when we need to actually talk something out, we get on the phone and we discuss it, and then we attack it again.
Where does Scott live, by the way?
He lives in L.A.
Okay.
So he's LA based and I'm still here in Austin, and we just pass it back and forth.
Were there ever any periods where you're just like, I got to get on Skype, I really want to face to face, or do you guys know?
We
each
do
other
Skype
well
every once.
enough?
Yeah, well, we don't get on Skype very often because we can very easily do it over the phone, and it's especially helpful like when he's coming back from meetings, because one of the downsides of living in LA is you have to go and do meetings all the time, but you're usually spending an hour and a half to 3 hours driving to and then back from the meeting. Like it's your whole day. So when you're sitting in the car for an hour and a half, hey, this is a perfect time to hop on the phone with Cargill and hammer out these details so that I can killing two birds with one stone. But yeah, we get on Skype every once in a while just to see each other's faces because we're really good fucking friends. So sometimes you just want to be able to look your friend in the eye and see the excitement on his face, or the frustration or whatever you're dealing with.
I will definitely admit to when working with people that there are certain ideas that I'm just like, I really do want to see your face when I propose this, and sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's like I really think you're gonna like this, and I want to see what your immediate reaction is. But sometimes it's like, is this crazy?
Other directors I work with, I always try to Skype. I do Skype instead of phone, especially since a lot of the people that I've worked with are on other continents. It makes it a lot cheaper, but it's also just a lot easier when it's someone you don't know very well. That way you can read their facial expression, and you could see hesitation if you pitch an idea and they're like, yeah, it's good. And then it's like, okay, what's not great about it? What are you not digging? That makes it much easier. But yeah, with me and Scott, it's usually just, we mostly do it on the phone.
So are you involved in any level with the casting?
No.
I mean, even as so much as having discussions with Scott.
No. I mean, he, very early on when I wasn't attached, he was, because we're close, he was sharing with me, like, hey, I'm thinking about this person, and hey, what do you think about this person? And hey, I met with this person, and this is why they didn't want to do it. Those kind of things, but never like...
How much access did he have? I mean, was as far as his relationship with the casting director, how much weight did he have?
Oh, well, I mean, when you're talking about... Marvel is
very collaborative.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, but to use I was trying to find another phrase aside from what we just used, but Marvel is the 800-pound gorilla of Hollywood right now. Like,
sure.
Whenever Marvel is casting for a movie, hey, when they said we want to make Doctor Strange, all of a sudden, all the top actors in Hollywood, whether they were appropriate for it or not, were like, we would like to be considered.
And I read the other day that Joaquin Phoenix didn't do it because he didn't want to do multiple pictures.
That's part of what I've heard. Yeah, like
was he one of the first people who was approached for it?
He was somebody who they were in talks with.
I know that I had heard it as a rumor, but I wasn't ever clear.
I heard it as a rumor from Cargill.
Okay.
No, you didn't.
I read it and you confirmed it. Should I not say that?
No, you didn't.
Okay, no, you didn't. Then.
If I remember correctly, you were like, I heard Joaquin Phoenix. I was like, I don't know, and you're like, that's you confirming it for me.
That's true. We can read you back and forward. So.
Okay.
Like a book you wrote.
Because I was shocked.
Shut up! That's what happened.
Okay, yes,
that's the story.
That's what happened. Yeah, you're right. I forget these things.
Jesus Christ! No, I wasn't in that woman's hotel room. She's just a friend of mine, right, Martin?
Wasn't me.
What?
Did you touch me?
Damn! Jesus Christ!
All right. Well, here's a safe question. I know that prior to you even getting the job, you were doing research on Doctor Strange. So, which particular books did you draw from for your writing on this?
Well, for the most part, I mean, like, I did a bunch of, I grew up with it. So, I mean, I love Doctor Strange.
Really?
Oh, yeah. No, I'm a Marvel kid practically from the womb.
I mean, I am too, but like, I read a good degree of the Marvel books, but and I do not dislike Doctor Strange, but I really like that first issue, where his origin story is fucking amazing. It's one of the best origin stories in Marvel. But after that, it was very much like, well, I'm hanging out in my Greenwich Village. And now I have to go do this thing in this weird dimension, and I'm going to go do that, and then I'm going to come back and say something pithy to my manservant.
Well, Strange is kind of an oddball character in that a lot of writers didn't know what to do with him.
Right.
And so you have entire patches where it's very okay. Like, it's not great. There's a reason why when you look up the top 10 Doctor Strange stories of all time, they're pretty much the same 10 stories.
Yeah.
Because there are a number of great runs that are like, this is what Doctor Strange is, and then a lot of runs that don't kind of nail that. There's a lot of oddball stuff, like the area where he's pretty much just a swinging guy in Greenwich Village, and as Doctor Strange, he's walking around in the blue mask.
Oh, that's right.
And,
And the blue mask.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like some of this is like really
So, were you
weird.
at Comic-Con?
And then there's great stuff like the run with the Defenders, where
so good.
Yeah, no, what I loved about it is like the whole aspect of like, we're not a team. And it's like, we'll get together to stop this, but we're not a team. We're not hanging out. We're not friends. We're just not a team.
We're
and
the
like
oddballs from every other team.
Yeah, and it was.
I can't do this alone, so I need the power cosmic and a big green guy that can do anything.
And the Prince of
Namor.
Atlantis.
Yeah.
And look at like a second tier Asgardian.
Yeah, which is like, it's like that's but we're not a team.
And a guy who's a worse Batman clone than Moon Knight.
Right. Keep in mind that, when I first was picking up comics was in the mid to late 80s, and that's when they had rebooted Strange, and they had rebooted Silver Surfer, and they had rebooted a bunch of their characters.
That's weird, because I remember the Defenders at that point was kind of like, before X Factor came out, they attempted to make the Defenders like an X-Men reboot.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't remember that,
Yeah,
because
but
I'm old.
They've gone through a lot of reiterations.
Yeah.
I fell in love with it, and that I had gotten really heavy into comics just before the boom. So for the first 2 years that I was really big into comic books, I could walk into my comic shop and buy entire runs of stuff from the 70s and early 80s for super cheap. It's like, oh, hey, I really like this New Mutants thing. Oh, New Mutants #1 is $4. Let me get that and a bunch of the other issues.
It was expensive back then. Your parents were giving you money.
I was a paper boy. I
got $10 a week, so it took me I think 4 years to assemble a full run of Howard the Duck.
I was a paper boy in the late 80s and early 90s, and mid to late 80s to early 90s, and all that money went towards role-playing games and comic books and arcade games.
Thank God Warhammer wasn't there. You never would have been able to write this.
It was there, I just wasn't into it. Yeah.
While it's on my mind and we're on this subject, right now on Amazon/Comixology, you can get the first Doctor Strange Marvel Masterworks for $2.99.
Holy shit, that's great.
So great.
Yeah.
And you want it? I have the essential version, which is black and white. You don't want the black and white version.
No.
There's a lot of Marvel comics you're like, yeah, fine, the essential version is fine.
Yeah.
But Doctor Strange and Silver Surfer, you want the full color.
It's Steve Ditko at the height of his powers.
Yeah. And it's so to answer your question, I drew a lot from the early 60s Ditko Doctor Stranges, and from the Oath.
Love the Oath.
And spiritually, I drew very heavily from my favorite Doctor Strange comic of all time, Triumph and Torment, which is
Is that the graphic novel?
Yeah.
What's the author?
J.M. DeMatteis wrote that?
I think so.
David Tayes.
It was drawn by Mike Mignola.
Oh,
And it's Doctor Strange.
I have not read this.
Oh my god. Okay, so let me pitch it
that's
to you. Doctor Doom shows up to the big contest to where they're deciding who the new Sorcerer Supreme is, and tries to become the new Sorcerer Supreme. Doctor Strange outwits everyone, becomes Sorcerer Supreme again, and then
I'm just picturing Tilda Swinton breaking a pool cue and going, now we're gonna have tryouts.
yeah, but so no, they have this big cosmic trial to where you have to solve this thing and figure it out, and the person who does it is Sorcerer Supreme, and so the runner-up gets a favor, and Doctor Doom then shows up to Doctor Strange's place and is to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and he's like, I want my favor, and he's like, really, this is the whole reason I did it. I just found out that my mother's soul is trapped in hell. I need you to take me into hell to get my mother's soul.
That's because you trapped her there, you fucker!
And so Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange go down into hell to battle demons and Mephisto himself to win back the soul of Doctor Doom's mother. And it is so cool.
That actually sounds pretty good.
It is. It's really good. But the thing is the first third of the comic is the trial for Sorcerer Supreme. So it's everybody. So it's it's Brother Voodoo and it's Nina Minotauro and it's all these great characters who exist in this universe.
Sure.
And that was very spiritually what I was drawing from. I wanted very much to put Doctor Strange in this universe where all of these other characters existed and were part of it.
I do like to feel that unlike the Marvel universe itself, it feels like this movie and the DC cinematic universe now has like an idea of like how magic works, how it's tiered, and what it does, which is something that's not there for Marvel. It's one of their weak points. Like DC has always been better at magic than Marvel,
and now not so much in the visual version.
Yeah, true enough.
Hey, they canceled Constantine. That's on you, DC.
True enough.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So there actually was a Dr. Voodoo reference in the film with his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I was like, I know what that reference is.
All right. Where's that? I missed it.
Yeah,
I've seen it twice.
remind me.
Well, Brother Voodoo,
It's his brother who died before he even becomes Brother Voodoo.
Right, because the whole thing of Brother Voodoo is a sorcerer who is haunted by the spirit of his brother, and that's part of his whole thing. And his brother is the guy guarding the Sanctum Sanctorum in New York.
Oh, okay.
And who then gets killed by Caecilius.
Right.
Yeah.
Thus releasing his spirit that then in later films can come back and be Brother Voodoo's.
See?
Yeah. Okay.
I got a black thing before you did.
Whoa.
I never realized Brother
But it was, to be fair, the whitest black thing that ever happened.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I don't get any points.
Yeah, you don't get a card for that one.
Damn it! How long do I have to try for this card?
Is he trying to earn his black card? Yeah.
I've been trying for like 10 years now.
He keeps trying to back into it.
Seriously, I got the whole like Chuck said.
Like he's gonna catch me sleeping and just like issue him one.
At this point, you're gonna have to like sing the entirety of "Tell Me Something Good" in front of the Apollo.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, so that seems unlikely.
That's why you don't have your card.
Yeah, you'd walk in and the Sandman would go like, "All right, I'm up."
Morpheus?
Oh my
Also
god!
why you don't have your card.
We're just gonna keep making it worse.
I'm enjoying making it worse at this point.
Dude, everybody loves the second stinger and reacts the same way going, man, that's fucked up. He didn't have to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Where Mordo takes away
Pangborn.
Benjamin Bratt's ability to walk.
Yeah,
What? Have you motherfuckers not seen Serenity? That's what Chiwetel Ejiofor does.
But you weren't involved with the stingers, were you?
No, I wasn't involved with the stingers.
Okay, so that came as a surprise to even you when you saw it.
Well, I love the way that Mordo is written in this because it's so easy to chalk him up as a somebody who's gonna in the original version we get somebody who's kind of wheedling to get power, and in this he's ultimately a purist, which is a really great interpretation.
Well,
of
it
the
makes him a
character.
very sympathetic.
Yeah.
I won't say villain, but character.
In terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I will say one of my favorite things about this movie is Mordo, because every other movie has this whole sort of one-off villain, and you're never going to see him again, and you don't care, and they don't make no real inroads except for like whoever ends up appearing in the Avengers movie at the end to building a bigger villain.
Yeah.
Well,
This is them saying, let's get to know this guy and his motivations and everything, and then knowing that he's going to be a villain later on. And I felt like that was an incredibly smart move to do that. To go like, okay, we want our own Loki.
Well, yeah, that was very much what it was. And especially when you get to the comics, like Mordo's arc in the comics, like Mordo's one of those characters that just starts almost as a throwaway character.
Right.
Like,
Very
you know,
much
they don't go into you don't get his backstory till much later. You just know that he used to be there at Comertage. He tried to kill the Ancient One. He ran off and is trying to become the Ancient he's trying to become Sorcerer Supreme himself. He wants to be very powerful. And then over the years he developed into a more interesting character until finally the end of his arc, where he comes back and he's got cancer and it's incurable, and he's reflected on everything he's done in his life and he wants to make amends, and then ends up sacrificing himself to save Strange.
Sure.
And that arc is amazing. And that's one of the things that when we sat down and every time we talked about Mordo, we talked about that arc. And so it's like, how do you get to the point that if you tell the story where he sacrifices himself for Strange, how do we get to the point of caring about that? Mm-hmm. And where you have to see the time where they're at Comertage together. You have to see them work together to care about that, to know that they've got something to go back to.
I'm curious about, like, because one of the main, like, you know, thread points of that first issue of Strange is that Mordo casts a spell where the Strange cannot warn the Ancient One, even though he's at this point he's like, I don't care about magic, but I need to tell this person that they're in danger. That's such a great writing point, but there wasn't any place to put it here. I mean, was that difficult for you to throw away, or did you try to figure out another way to do it?
That's one of the many origins. Like, it's not the original.
Sure. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It wasn't difficult to throw any of that out, because Marvel is very much about getting the characters right.
Sure.
Not about getting the specifics.
Oh no, I'm not. And I'm absolutely not talking about anybody putting any weight on you.
No. What I'm saying is that philosophy makes it very easy to say, that's a really cool idea, but that isn't the story we're going to tell. Like, that's just not the story we're telling here, and so you just kind of throw that out. The thing is that you need to you need to stay true to who all of those characters are, and for me, it was staying true to Strange, to Mordo, to Wong, and the Ancient One, and that making sure that we get those characters right. And especially with Wong. Wong was a big...
Oh, yeah, I love the way you brought him in. I love the fact that he does not even become a servant in this movie. Yeah.
Well, that was very much...
He had to be very much out.
Oh, God, yeah. Like that, but yeah, it was
from
like...
From the get-go, you were like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, Wong is never going to fly that way.
It's so not a thing anymore. I bought a box set of Mr. Magoo cartoons, because I love those. Mm-hmm. But when I bought them, reading the reviews, there were people like, he has a Chinese manservant, and it's kind of problematic. And I was like, oh, whatever, it can't be that big of a deal. And my daughter had her friend over whose parents are Taiwanese, and I was like, oh, you guys want to watch some old cartoons? And I put it on, and I'm like, holy
God!
Shit!
Yeah.
You know what, guys? Let's watch something else.
Hong Kong Phooey, more racist than you thought.
Invites people over and says, "Let's watch Mr. Magoo." Is my question.
I want to see it.
Usually, if it wasn't Martin, I'd usually be like somebody that wants to touch little girls. That sounds like, come on, kids, let's watch some Mr. Magoo.
Hey, kids, you want to watch some cartoons?
I want you to leave as fast as possible.
Mr. Uncle Touchy's puzzle basement.
Okay, so here's the thing.
I gotta say, I loved you and Tommy.
I read and absolutely loved your first two novels, as you know.
Agreed.
And one of my favorite things from Doctor Strange that I saw it in the trailers and the 15-minute preview, and I couldn't stop reciting it over and over in my head, was the whole line about Shambhala being the password.
Yeah.
And I was like, that had to be yours.
No.
It was not.
No.
This is what people call out. People are
Dude,
like,
it was the Chuck Mangione line. It was not the Shambhala
That so felt
line.
like one of yours.
It really
not
did.
one of mine. And
I'm
trying to avoid talking about who wrote what. But yeah, no, that
Please
one I
don't
can't
avoid
take credit for that at all. No, that was a John Spates line, and it's fucking
really
hilarious.
funny.
And it's the way
I'm fucking jealous.
I'm
jealous.
That delivery on it. We're not savages. I could not stop saying that over and over in my head.
What was your relationship with Chiwetel on the film?
Chiwetel.
Chiwetel, sorry. I knew I would say it wrong.
Great.
And I said it wrong anyway.
Yeah.
But you didn't say it as wrong as I thought you would say it.
I totally still am negative.
Yeah, it's not as wrong as we started out.
Yeah, no, my relationship with everybody was fantastic. Like, everyone who worked on the set, the film, legitimately was amazing.
How much did they talk to you about what's my motivation?
Everyone's different.
Look,
Like,
enough chit chat. Tell us about Tilda Swinton.
we'll get there. No, Chiwetel.
Pipe down, bro.
Chiwetel is every bit the thespian that you think he is. He's so much fucking funnier than you would ever imagine, based on the kind of characters he plays. He's fucking hilarious.
He's so ultra serious and Shakespearean in Doctor Strange.
Yeah, but he is such a funny fucking guy. But yeah, no, he
Can you give us an example?
He's one of those guys. Well, I remember at one point we were discussing politics, and he had asked me some questions about discussing American politics, and
I'm sorry.
somebody walked up 45 minutes after the beginning of that conversation, and then asks a question that's at the beginning, that takes me back to the beginning, and it was like, well, we just discussed that, yeah, I'd really like to know your opinion, and he just looks at me and goes, bye, Felicia, and it just floored me, a lot, he's just a really fucking funny guy, but yeah, he was one of the guys when he first came on, he's like, hey, I'd love to sit down and talk about the script, and I'd love to talk with you with it, so why don't we meet during this particular period of time and come over to my trailer? And so I went to his trailer, and he made tea. We sat down for an hour and a half and drank really great tea, because he's got excellent taste in very dark.
I remember talking about this. It reminds me of that scene in Extras.
At what point did you realize that you were starting to get sleepy and woke up feeling
What's in
uncomfortable?
this tea?
It wasn't Bill Cosby he was meeting with.
As you fall!
Yeah, no, it wasn't Bill Cosby's special barbecue chicken recipe. We'd sat down a couple times, and we would sit and just talk about the character for an hour and a half over tea and just discuss it and break it down. And he was one who was very much like, let's sit and talk about that. But very, very likable, wonderful guy. We'll work with him whenever. Very physical actor. Dude, he nailed. He worked with the stunt team to train for his action moves, and they had a stunt double ready, but we didn't need him because for anything but like the physical contact stuff, because he always had his movements down. He always had the choreography down.
Fucking red belt, bitches. Watch Red Belt.
I was so shocked he wasn't cast as the Black Panther.
Actually,
I was a little too.
Yeah.
You know what? I think it has to do with age, because they wanted the Black Panther.
I figured that's all it could be.
Yeah, it's
some point of like, we need you for like 9 movies. So
yeah, they went younger, but yeah, I was so sad.
A Chiwetel Black Panther would have been amazing, but yeah, no, he's amazing physical actor, and so he was just like, he would nail it on the first and second take of the physicality of it. So amazing thespian, amazing action actor. I was like, while working with him, I'm like, I need to write a fucking action movie for you. Like I want to see you do fucking action movies now.
And when you were writing stuff with Mordo, what were you thinking in your head about like what you would like to do with him?
Well,
obviously this is a Mordo prequel film, and I wanted
to make the audience like him and be heartbroken that he's not one of the good guys. I
were.
want them to feel the betrayal.
Yeah.
That was my whole thing. Is I want you to feel betrayed that this guy isn't on our team anymore. That you are heartbroken for it. Not sitting there the whole time going, when is this guy gonna fucking turn? In most movies, when you have a guy who turns and goes to the other side, you're like, I'm not gonna miss him. I wanted to miss him.
Yeah. I didn't feel heartbroken. I didn't miss him, but I like up until the stinger, and that's a weird stinger, and I know you didn't write it, but I was just like, I understand your motivation on this. That is just like, and to an extent, I kind of felt it myself, because the idea of the Eye of Agamotto being something that you can fuck with time. Something that always I hate when it comes to narratives.
And an Infinity Stone.
Yeah, it's just like, and an Infinity Stone, which is, and I'm glad they made it an Infinity Stone, because it should be made clear that this shit's really fucking dangerous to fuck with. But when he left, I understood him. I was just like, I kind of get where you're coming from, and I think the way that you set up the you and your co-writers set up the nebulousness of what the Ancient One was doing, like, led me to go, like, I could kind of go either way on this.
Yeah,
I'd probably go with Strange, but I see what Mordo is saying.
You see where he's coming from.
Yeah, he's not out of his mind.
Scott and I are big fans of moral complexity. It's something that we both like writing into our work, and it's what attracts. We don't like clear-cut good and bad. We like the audience to sit there and mull over and wonder, was the Ancient One on the right path, or was she doing the wrong thing the whole time? Like, what, we want you to wonder that. We want you to wonder if Strange is making the right choices at the end, if he's doing the right things. That's just what draws us to stories. And
but let's get real. I'd follow till this went into hell.
Well, we all would.
We all would.
Who would not?
Let me ask you a question that I know that based on my own religious preferences, as it were. Look, I don't want you. This is not an antagonistic question, but I know you and Scott.
God damn it!
You and Scott are both Christian.
Yeah.
And writing a film about magic had to present some degree of maybe philosophical challenges.
No, it's just the opposite. The opposite.
In what way did that influence you?
Well, what it influences is we're both people who spend time focusing on the spiritual nature of life, but neither of us are rigid Christians. Like, that. Like, that. I've never.
No, not at all.
In the 15 years we've known each other, I've never pulled you aside and said, you need to get right with the Lord.
I hate the fact that calling someone a Christian, there's a huge portion of people that'll immediately think of it in the terms of like, oh, you go to revivals.
There is a line in there that I drew from reading forums for years, reading atheist arguments for years, which is a momentary speck in an insignificant, a momentary insignificant speck in an unfeeling universe. And,
and I love how that gets thrown back in his face
later on. No, and that was intentional. Like, that's the whole thing. Is Doctor Strange is a guy who is an atheist who is being exposed to a larger part of the world than he knows exists, and he's clinging on to that atheism. He's resisting learning about these things. He's resisting accepting them because it violates his personal worldview. And so, as Christians,
to an extent, if you turn it around, it's the same. It's like, well, we've got all these records that is showing that the world is millions of years old, and I'm not going to accept that. You flip that around, and it's like, hey, look, I just sent you through 5 different realms of reality by punching you in your astral solar plexus.
Of reality?
of reality. By punching you in your literal and figurative solar plexus.
But as a Christian, you have your faith tested all the time.
Of course.
And so this is, just a guy whose faith, atheism, is being tested and having it challenged and is struggling with that, and finally gives himself over once the evidence has presented himself as a good atheist. That was another thing that I wanted to make sure was that I wasn't kicking atheists in the nuts and going, you guys are wrong. It's most atheists that I know are reasonable people, and presented if Jesus walked in here.
He's talking about us.
I am. And if Jesus walked in here and sat down,
you're an agnostic.
Are we going to start with this again?
If Jesus walked in here and performed a couple of miracles, and
it'd be like, okay,
you guys would start being like, maybe I was wrong about this.
David Blaine.
But there's part of you that'd be sitting there doing that. You'd be like, all right, David Blaine, what's in my tea? What is it? Like that was very much so. So our Christianity very much played into what the story we were telling is. We're telling the story about somebody who's being exposed to a world much bigger than they thought.
And you also developed, after he was in that world and accepted it, he came at it scientifically, which I loved about this movie, where he was like, obviously there's got to be rules to this, and like a structure, and magic isn't like anything goes.
Well,
it's a science.
Mark and I were hanging out with our friend John Rubio just last night. He made a real effect, I think, on everybody that he was talking to. He's like, if you accept a discipline, if you accept a rigor, you have to apply that to everything.
Yeah, that's true.
And if you don't, then you're being intellectually dishonest.
All right.
And it's just like, if somebody wanders in the room and it's just like, hey, here's your dad and he wants to talk to you, I'd be like, you're probably not David Blaine.
Tell me about Benny, Beneford, Benedict.
Amber Snatch Cumber Snipper.
Look, there is somebody perfected it. Somebody found, if you're gonna make fun of his name,
Shumber Bull Debberbuck.
it is Butterscotch Cookie Bat.
Butterscotch Cumberbatch.
Butterscotch Cookie
That last
Bat.
one blew you. I like that one.
So Ben,
Has he himself, in your presence, made fun of his own name?
no,
Has he admitted to the fact that he is a genetically modified otter?
no,
Well, I
he
think in
quite
Britain
obvious.
it's not unusual.
no.
To be a genetically modified otter?
It is. I watched a lot of British TV. Cumbersnatch is a little bit unusual.
Cumbersnatch?
Cumbersnatch. What? Look, we all know what we're talking about. It's the golden thing with wings that
He's
you
a
get when you
wonderful
play
human
with.
being that a lot of people make fun of his name, and
I think you're talking about the porn actor who plays him in various versions of adaptations.
Look, he's an amazing actor with a loving marriage who has done wonderful work. I've got to make fun of something.
All right, so
Yeah, you can't win everything.
when did you first meet him?
I met him in where I met most everyone in the first week while we did rehearsals. They brought me there a week before we started shooting.
Did you guys do table reads or?
No, we did reads of certain. We workshopped certain scenes over the course. We went through the script and everybody kind of did their scenes. But we did them all on their own. We didn't do full table reads because it was everybody had a very wonky schedule. Ben was doing his last few weeks of Hamlet.
Oh wow!
And he was.
So you guys were doing the reads in London.
Yeah, so he's going to Marvel Studios and doing reads during the day and working out with the stunt team and doing reads and then turning around and going and performing in Hamlet.
I'd like to say this sounds horrible and exhausting, but it just sounds fucking awesome.
It's probably both, and
Yeah.
he was, and you could see it, but it never read in his performance. I went and saw Hamlet that week, but yeah, that's where I met Ben, and that's where I met Tilda for the first time, and Mads, and Chiwetel, and and Rachel. That's where I met all of them that first week. I didn't get to meet Benny, Benedict Wong, until because we had two Benedicts on set.
Oh yeah.
And one was either Ben or Benedict. You can call him either, and he was everyone called him either. He was both. And then Benedict Wong, who is Benny. Like he's not Ben, he's not Benedict. Call me Benny, and who is like one of the nicest, most likable guys. Like the minute you start talking to this guy, you just want to hug him. He's just this adorable, wonderful man, and he was a lot of fun to work with. But I didn't meet him till later because he was still working on his show because he's on Marco Polo.
That's right.
Oh, right
That's
on.
right.
And he had come in from Marco Polo to come in and then do the
Which I still
the
haven't
film.
watched yet.
Actually, the actor I want to ask you about, he's one of my favorite actors, and he has such a small role.
Michael Stolberg.
Yes, I love that
How
guy.
did you know what he was gonna say?
Because I know Martin and I know exactly who he's talking about. Because he was the only other actor that I mentioned in there that had a role that I would think that Martin would connect with. And of course, he loved Michael Stolberg.
Who did he play?
Is it Stolberg? Is that how you say it?
I believe so. Yeah.
Because I was
Who
saying
did he play?
Stolberg. for the way
He
it
was the
looks.
guy who was the surgeon, the other surgeon in the hospital.
No.
I
Yeah,
love him on
Strange
Boardwalk
thing a dick
Empire.
to.
man.
Yeah.
Everything I see him in, I
Oh,
love
and
the guy.
he's fantastic, and he's one of those guys he's one of those amazing guys that he works out his performance beforehand, and when he walks out, he hits it every time. If something goes wrong in a scene, it's never him.
I
He
can
never
tell that
drops a
about him.
line. He never steps on someone else's line. He never gets his timing wrong. Like once he has it,
That's
and
how
they
you
work it
act,
out.
kids.
No, it's weird because the thing is this cast that I worked with are amongst the very best people.
That's one of the things we've
in
been talking
the
about.
Well,
world.
I don't think
Let me get this
Yeah,
out.
go.
Yeah, because they are one of the greatest casts in the world, and each one of them is like a kung fu master expert at one thing where you're just like, where you watch it and you're like, I've never seen anybody do that before. Like with Mads Mikkelsen, he was a dancer for 10 years before he became an actor.
Seriously?
Yes.
I didn't know
Before he
that.
started eating people, he was a dancer.
He was a ballet dancer. That's how he knows his wife, who's also a ballet dancer.
I did not know that.
Yes, and as a result, his physicality is such that when he sets up the blocking for a shot, for what he needs to do, he will nail that blocking every time. There was a thing where there's a shot where he's pulling out Caecilius is pulling out his knives from behind his back.
Yeah.
In the first section of the first bit of the movie, and he would bring up the knives. And he asked Scott, he's like, where is it catching the light? Where do you want it? Where can I catch the light? And he's like, okay, right there. He's like, right there. And it's like, okay. And Scott just leans over and he goes, watch this. He's going to fucking hit it every time. And sure enough, he would fucking hit it and get the glint of the light every time because he had already memorized the movements of what he was doing.
Wow.
And it's just, it's mind-blowing.
I'm startled by how much range that guy has.
I know.
Have you watched Men in Chicken?
Oh, yeah.
Wait, what?
Men in Chicken, it's one of his Danish comedies.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, not like Mads Mikkelsen you've ever seen before.
Oh, you'd
He's
love it. It's
fucking
an uncomfortable
hysterical.
comedy in which a guy, about these two brothers who have problems with women, and one always has these dysfunctional relationships, and the other is a chronic masturbator, who walks around.
You'll love it.
Because,
Walks around with
you
a
know.
toilet paper roll because he's constantly masturbating. Guess who Mads Mikkelsen plays?
The masturbator.
Oh yes.
No, that's where you're wrong.
Nope.
He plays the toilet roll. That's how good he is.
But yeah, so he's hilarious in that fucking movie.
Yeah, it's a really funny movie. It's on Draft House Films. You
It's
can
and
find
it's
it on
so
their website.
it's the kind of dark that you'd really and uncomfortable that you dig.
Wow.
You know,
You know me. So,
I do.
We should be so uncomfortable with the fact that, like, you know, all of our American properties are being overwhelmed by these British actors, but I mean, there is a reason for it, and that's it. It's just like
Why should we be uncomfortable? We're all just people. Fuck it. I don't care. Like, you're not from America? Fucking take the role. I don't give a shit. You're the best guy.
I do, because fuck the line.
Yeah, he's an American actor. I think you have a problem.
But
But no, I think there's a
Trump will
dedication.
take care of things.
There's a dedication to the actual idea of craft that they have that Americans can be loosey-goosey about.
Well, yeah, and that's really interesting. Like Chiwetel, one of the things he was a very unselfish actor. Like he was willing to be in scenes.
Oh, and that's what you gotta mean.
Yeah, we were discussing ways to go with Mordo, and he's like, well, in this scene, Doctor Strange is getting better, so I think he should be getting the upper hand on me and physically overpowering me during this scene, and you know, I talked to Scott about that, and Scott's like, no, what we need this scene to work this way because of the way it's going to cut into the next scene and how we're developing Strange.
That's interesting because that was one thing that I did want to see a little bit more of.
You know, he was describing the actual thing that was happening.
I know, but I just want... Nah, go on. Fuck me.
We love you,
seriously.
man.
We love you, but
seriously,
we want to hear about the
fuck
actual
me.
movie.
Tell your story about your little movie
We love you,
that you wrote that is really popular.
So the second half of that sentence was that, you know, I talked to Scott and told him, and he said, yeah, we can't, you know, we need this to work this way. But he goes, but he's like, but look at, he was just shocked at how unselfish that was. He goes, that's Chiwetel for you. He's like, that's this guy, like, he's willing to be on screen in a big Marvel film and have Benedict Cumberbatch beat the crap out of him because he thinks it would tell a better story. Like, he's not concerned about looking cool in every scene of the movie. He cares about telling the best story. And that's you don't always find that with actors. Like, a lot of actors are like, you know, like there's that famous story that the one that killed what's his name's career? Not Jean-Claude Van Damme, but the other one, the ponytail. Seagal, where he was on Executive Decision.
Ghost Dog?
And
Executive
Decision.
Yeah,
No,
where he gets
No, I don't mean the movie. I mean the
yeah, and he refused to come out of his trailer that day. Like, he refused because he did not want to die on film, and he thought they would rewrite it because it was him. And he was crying. He's like, "You don't understand, my fans. Yeah, you don't understand. My fans won't acknowledge. You know, won't take and as a result, when people saw how difficult he was to work with, it's like, oh, we can't work with this.
You know, it's funny. Yeah, you bring that up because he was in so many films, and I was so happy to see him die in the first 10 minutes of that.
Yes.
And then he just kind of went away
because of people heard about the shenanigans, and so for you've got to be unselfish, and Chiwetel was just very, very unselfish, and he was very, very dedicated towards not focusing on how much screen time can we get Mordo, but how great can we make Mordo so that he proves the perfect foil for Strange.
Well, I feel like Chiwetel is selfless to a fault because I always feel like he should be a bigger star than he is. Like he has all the chops and properties he needs for that.
Ever since
to be like Idris Elba is super popular.
Ever since
and
Serenity,
Chiwetel was around before him, and he should be. That should be.
I think he's getting to the point that his age is playing against him, which
Idris Elba though.
Black don't crack though.
Idris Elba took a bunch of geek properties all in a row that played to that audience, and now he's there, and that's what Chiwetel is doing now.
Okay.
Like ever since Serenity, when he was playing this incredibly shit, I almost said well spoken.
Wow. All right, you were never getting the card. The card is for voting.
You actually said it. I almost said it.
I was going to say
like
the best
very.
way. No. It's not even that. His character's almost foppish.
Look, if you want to be,
who's like this master, like I understand swordplay to a point that it's laughable that you would even come at me.
I really want to make erudite the next racist term, so I would say he's a very erudite person.
Wait.
What?
You mean he's blonde-haired and blue-eyed?
No!
I was gonna make an erudite joke, but I think that's inappropriate.
But no, I do have to go back to my horrible interruption question and go like, one of the things that I was fascinated with this movie, and I don't know, maybe to a certain extent, like I don't know if he got there at the end is power levels, because
what does that mean?
Well, to some extent, like in the comic series, Doctor Strange hits Sorcerer Supreme pretty early. In this, he's given a lot of, there are a lot of points where he's just like, you're just not doing this right. You're just even.
He doesn't seem supreme.
Yeah,
there's
no supreme, and that's
supreme.
great because he's given a lot of leeway.
He
hasn't earned his sour cream. Let's get it right.
There we go. He's not buried up to his tits in sour cream. It's not that way. You know
I love how you just crossed the streams between an old Herb Alpert joke.
We did.
That wasn't
well
said.
Done.
That wasn't said on
whither the other delights with Stephen Strange.
But it borders. I mean, I'm glad it didn't cross over, but it borders on The Last Samurai, where the white guy comes in and he becomes master of this thing that all these other people have been studying forever. So it's fine that he doesn't become the Sorcerer Supreme. It's just like, hey, he's in a position to be the Guardian of New York for right now, where we end. If he becomes Sorcerer Supreme later, that's fine.